order the regular council meeting of February 11, 2013. Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Allen.
Here.
Dixon. Gibbons.
Here.
Cannon.
Present.
Harrison.
Present.
McLean.
Here.
Mowry.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Pape.
7 members present. This time, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we have no chair announcements this evening. I'd like to turn to the reports of the officials and our librarian's report.
Good evening. My name is Christine, and I'm the director of your public library, where we provide services to inform, inspire, and enrich the community. I just have a few announcements this evening. We are in the thick of tax season, and the library is once again hosting AARP Tax Assistance Program. So this is free tax preparation for those age 55 or older, or those that are considered low income. This happens on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., and I just want to let everyone know, please don't come before like 8:45, because you're just going to sit in the hallway and be lonely. We don't hand out numbers until it's first come, first serve. So whoever's here first, people have been very orderly when they're here, but you'll get a number around 8:45. We start handing out numbers. Then at 9 o'clock when the library opens, you can come in and enjoy some coffee. So that will continue through April. And also, the staff had asked me to let everyone know that the tax forms that are available, we have. We didn't get everything this year. The IRS has not been sending them out. I know there was some late legislation. We currently have no state tax forms, and we have some federal forms, but we can print any of these forms for you through the IRS website or through the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue. The charge is customary 15 cents per page. A couple programs that are coming up. We have a Spring into Organization program where you can come learn 4 steps to clean out your problem areas of your home and set up a system of organization that will work for you. That is on Thursday, February 21st at 7. And all of our children's programs have resumed. We took a break around Christmas, but they have resumed. So we have story time for infants up through preschool. There's art classes, book groups, and game nights for elementary age children. And then we have a teen cafe for those in grade 6 and older. And this month, February, is Library Lovers Month, so there's several things that you can do to show your love for the library. You can purchase a Valentine for $1. And on it, you can put your name, your family name, or why you love the library. And we have them on display behind the circulation desk. We're also doing a program called Blind Date with a Book. So if you're unlucky in love, maybe you'll be lucky with a book. We have books that are wrapped in plain brown wrappers. You don't know the identity of your book until you get it home. And there's a rate your date slip in each book. And you can say whatever you want about your book date. And each entry that is received, you won't hurt the book's feelings. So. Each entry that's received goes into, we have 2 prizes that we're giving away. One is 2 tickets to a movie theater, and the other is dinner for 2 at Pasta 2. So I guess you could take your book with you and keep it all for yourself. But also in the children's department, we're doing a loose change collection. So if you have any loose change, we have a bank that you can see the coins go down into the dinosaur's belly. So if you want to bring your loose change in, that would be really great. And also there's more information on how to support the library on the library's webpage. And I know the municipal offices are closed on President's Day, correct?
That's correct.
The library will be open. I'm sure many people will call like they did on Martin Luther King Day. But we will be here on Monday the 18th, regular hours, 9 to 9. So if you want any more information on these or the many other programs and services that we offer, you can visit the library's website at bethelparklibrary.org. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We turn to the police chief's report and Chief Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see a good crowd here, especially tonight because it's a very important night for the police department as we're going to pass out our Officer of the Year awards for 2012. I do have some previous reminders that I'd like to bring up tonight, so I'm going to save the officer awards for last. First is a reminder that the Police Pals Pittsburgh Steelers basketball game is on Friday, March 8th. Of course, that's at the high school. The Steeler game is at 8 o'clock, but the activities actually start around 5:30. And there will be a basketball game between the police department and fire department. Before the Steeler game, it looks like they brought their whole team tonight. It's okay, they're going to need them. Oh. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Just remember, he's the one with the gun.
Secondly, the next Crime Watch meeting is going to be on Tuesday, February 19th, 6:30 at the Community Center. And the guest speaker at this month's Crime Watch meeting is our magistrate, Rob Wida. I mentioned for the last couple months we are going to have another drug take-back program with the DEA. That is going to occur on Saturday, April 27th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Community Center. So once again, bring in your unused, unwanted, expired medication in pill form only to the Community Center, and we'll make sure that they get safely disposed of. Another item I wanted to bring up just real briefly is our crime prevention officer, Tom Rigatti, took on a rather ambitious project a few months ago. Way back in 1948, 2 Bethel Park police officers were shot when they responded to a burglary in town. A few days after the burglary, one of the officers, Joseph Shemolinsky, succumbed to his wounds and he died. He is not only on the police memorial outside of the municipal building, but he's also on the law enforcement officers memorial down in Washington, D.C. Another officer by the name of George Kirscher was shot that day. And Mr. Kirscher actually lived for 3 more years. And there was some information that even though it was 3 years later, the injuries he suffered that night may have lingered and eventually led to his death in 1951. Officer Rigatti, working with the folks down in Washington, D.C., tried to get Mr. Kirscher his name engraved on the memorial in Washington, D.C. One of the problems we had was we have no known family for Mr. Kirscher. Unfortunately, we just found out this week that his name will not appear on the Washington, D.C. memorial. That doesn't mean that our efforts are going to end. We're going to continue to try to find information, hopefully through family members, that we can give him the credit and the recognition he deserves by having his name placed on the memorial. This past week, I received a letter and a certificate in the mail. It was quite surprising, and I'd like to just read a portion of the letter to you. It came from a company called Location, Inc., and what they do is they provide real estate services for people throughout the country. So maybe somebody gets transferred from another state, they're going to come to the Pittsburgh area, and they're looking for safe places to live, places that have good school districts, and so forth. So Location, Inc. sent a letter, and they are the creators of Neighborhood Research Site. I'm pleased to inform you that Bethel Park, PA, has achieved the ranking of 44th safest city in America. And that's based on their latest research. And what they do is they look at your uniform crime statistics and they compare it against your population. And this is typically for towns that have a population of 25,000 or more. So they sent that nice letter, and they also sent a certificate to the municipality. And they are also going to include a link on their website, on our website. So anybody that visits bethelpark.net will see a symbol, and they're going to say, hey, what's this all about? You can click on that and find out that we are, in fact, one of the safest cities in America. I'd like to congratulate all the members of the police department and also everybody in the community, because without their cooperation, and as you know, with Crime Watch these days, I don't think these types of recognitions would be possible if it wasn't for all the community getting involved. Okay, finally, the moment we've all waited for. I am, let me see here. I just wanted to take just a quick minute to once again tell the folks what the foundation's all about. Back in 1969, Dr. David McNary wanted to recognize Bethel Park police officers, so he created the Bethel Park Police Merit Foundation. Last year, we changed the name. It's now the Bethel Park Police Meritorious Awards Foundation. So that would make this the 44th year that these awards have been made to Bethel Park police officers. And I know it's a special award for the officers because it's their peers who vote for them. And typically, or what we've done for the last 44 years, is they take the top 3 vote getters. And there are certificates for the officers, but there's also monetary awards. And I am going to ask the members of the association or foundation that are present to join me. That would be Council President Mowry, Mayor Morton, Lieutenant Rogan. The members of the board who are not present are our President, Mike Flynn, Vice President Andy Amrine, and our Treasurer, Tom Bailey. I'll give each one of these to our members here. Okay, the officer with the 3rd highest tote vote for this year is Officer Mike Dunn. Just real briefly, Mike joined the force back in 2006, and Mike is a previous recipient of the Officer of the Year in 2008. Our 2nd highest vote total was for Officer Ed Catch. Ed joined the force back in 1996 and is also a previous Officer of the Year recipient in 1998. And this year's Officer of the Year goes to Officer Dave DeTapa. Dave joined the force back in 1987, so that's what, 26 years. This is Dave's first award? Okay, congratulations. Would any of the officers like to say anything? Very humble, but much deserved, and congratulations once again, guys. That concludes my report, Mr. Maurer.
Thank you very much. Can we turn to the fire chief's report and Chief Gerber?
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Gerber. I'm the fire chief for the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. I'll give you the fire chief's report for the month of January. In January, we responded to 39 calls. We had 5 fire calls, 1 overheated furnace, 4 good intent calls, 7 hazardous conditions, 2 rescues, 5 service calls, and 15 false alarms, totaling 39 calls for the month of January. Normally, after we give the fire report, I go and give a little speech about fire prevention tips and items like that. Tonight we're going to go in a little different direction. If you guys could just bear with me for a few minutes here. Tonight we're going to go over, I want to go over an item that I know is going to be brought up later on this evening. 2.5 years ago, the leadership of the Volunteer Fire Company approached council and had a list of about 6 items that they had that were problems that we knew that were coming up on us and that we needed to correct. So we approached council. We had several problems. We had a manpower and an aging workforce issue at that time. Our fundraising was having problems. Bingo was having bigger and bigger issues and is now actually gone because we weren't making any money. The number of donations that we get every year has been dropping and dropping, the number of returns. And our big problem was that the Brightwood Fire Station just down the street here was having some problems that we were going to either need to replace the building or fix it back up. We approached council. We gave them that those were the issues that we had. Things we did to correct our problems, we corrected the problems as far as the manpower and the aging workforce by putting on a recruitment drive. And I'm proud to say over the last 16 months, we have gained 16 new firefighters, which is a fantastic number. That's averaging 1 a month. We haven't done that in a long time. I think before that first person of the 16 came, it was 1.5 years before that we got another new member. So I think we've done a great job as far as that goes. Unfortunately, our bingo has dropped off due to the casinos and stuff. Was hurting our numbers. We weren't making any money anymore. So we unfortunately closed bingo on Saturday nights. But we have come back with some other fundraising events that we've been doing. You'll see us at the intersections a couple times a year now doing Fill the Boots. We partnered up with a couple local establishments like Barley and Hops down at South Park Shops for some fundraisers. You'll see us out doing things like that. So we have been trying to do some things to update our fundraising. Unfortunately, there was no easy solution though, to find to how we were going to correct the problem with Brightwood's fire station. We actually had a company come in. They did a feasibility study on that building, and unfortunately, they told us that the building was slowly falling apart, and it was probably going to be a problem to correct. As far as correcting it, the best thing to do would be to go ahead and knock it down and rebuild it. We've been serving the community since 1927. That's 86 years. We've been able to survive up until now solely on your donations and stuff. The fire company's annual budget right now is $500,000 a year. That pays nobody's salary. That's actually paying all the bills down there and all the equipment and stuff that we have. We run 100% solely on volunteer firefighters. And we're very proud to say up until now we haven't taken tax money or had any problems surviving by ourselves. Unfortunately, to be able to go ahead and replace the fire station down the street, we are going to need some help. Meeting with a liaison committee through with the council here for the last 2.5 years, we've tried to come up with some different funding solutions of how we're going to do it. And if you've seen the Almanac the last couple of weeks, there's been a couple articles out of how we're looking to do that. We've come to a consensus with some of the members from council that were meeting with us. The best thing to do we're looking to have is a fire tax. We're looking to increase taxes for a strictly dedicated fire tax of 0.34 mils. Now, what does that mean? That means for every $100,000 that your house is assessed for, you'll be taxed $34. Basically, what we're saying is that's going to come out to about $3 a month if your house is $100,000. If it's worth $200,000 or assessed at $200,000, it's going to be about $6 a month. Unfortunately, the fire department does not have funds in the nature of what we're looking, to replace a building with. Right now, we have, big payments that we have. The ladder truck that we just bought last year has a payment of $12,000 a month is the vehicle payment on that. So, you can imagine what that is. We actually run 3 stations. We cover 12 square miles, and we are actually the biggest independent fire department in the municipality. There's other municipalities that are bigger than us, but all those municipalities has more than one fire department covering it. There's on an average of 4 to 5 for a lot of the bigger departments. So what we're looking to do, if I can check my notes here, we're looking to, tonight, I believe council is going to vote on whether or not we're going to be able to put a referendum on May's ballot coming up in May to let the people vote and let you guys decide, everybody in Bethel Park, of whether or not you can or support the fire department and we can put this tax on. We believe that that's the fairest way going right now to let you guys decide. I believe on, Ed, you can help me, what was the date of the March 7th? March 7th, we're going to be coming up on having a public meeting down at Brightwood Station. I believe that's going to be 7 o'clock. We have some other guys who are going to talk here in a little bit. I'll give you a little bit more information about that. But just to give you, from my end of things, as far as operationally, what your fire department does for the community, we actually have in the area 50 to 55 active firefighters that protect the community. We actually have, I believe it's 82 total in the department right now. From 55 to 82, there's a lot of older guys that take care of some stuff back at the station and stuff. They don't necessarily respond to calls and stuff anymore, but they still help us out, around the station and all. We actually have guys right now over on South Park Road. If anybody has been out and about tonight, you'll see that South Park Road was shut down. We got about 10 or 12 guys and a couple vehicles over there blocking traffic off right now for power lines that are down. Those guys have been there for, I believe, going on 3 hours or so, maybe. Yeah, about 3 hours or so as of right now. Remember, those folks, being all volunteer, left their jobs and stuff this afternoon when they responded to that. I'm proud to say that, well, let me give you a little story first. I had a friend of mine, this news came out in the Almanac about 3 weeks ago or so, and I had a buddy of mine at work come up and talk to me and ask me about what was going on and about the tax, and I explained it to him and stuff. And one of his comments to me was, well, if I'm going to end up paying a tax on this, I think that we deserve a professional fire department. Okay, I understand that. My answer to that is, you folks do have a professional fire department. You just happen to be staffed with volunteers. Everybody that joins this volunteer fire department is put through 188 hours worth of training at a fire academy. Some guys go up to North Park. We have guys that go to Washington County's Fire Academy. People that we do have right now in the department, you actually have a state fire marshal. You have several accredited state fire instructors that can go out and teach right now. Last year in training, we have a training night every Monday night. We had 2,139 man-hours of training on Monday evening drills. We also had 2,046 hours of training attending regular fire academies and other outside training classes. I am proud to say this is the second fire department that I've been in, and I couldn't tell you, or can tell you, that this is the finest group of people that you have protecting your community as a volunteer that you can imagine. The only difference between a paid staff and what you got here right now is they're collecting a paycheck. We've got guys, actually, in Chief Mackey, I don't know if he's actually gone. We got called a couple weeks ago to a call over on Surrey Woods. The police had an incident going on over there. And I got a phone call on a Sunday evening about 11 o'clock at night asking if we could have some people respond to help them with some ladders and some lighting. I said, sure, we'll be over there very shortly. I put a call out on the radio and asked for some help. Guys didn't know what the call was going to be or what was going on. I just asked for people to respond to their stations, and I'd let them know once they got there what was going on. We actually had 36 people respond to that incident, not having any clue to what the people were getting into or what was going on. We cover incidents as far as helping the police, as far as that goes, along with numerous other things, helping search for lost people, your normal everyday fire calls, your rescue calls as far as accidents and entrapment goes. People were stuck in elevators, all the false alarms. If you listen to the report every month of what we cover, Our biggest number of things is false alarms. Now that sounds like you show up and nothing's wrong. A lot of times it's getting people's alarm systems corrected, things going, big businesses and stuff, getting their systems back up and online and working with the alarm companies and stuff. That call that we assisted the police with, that started at 11 o'clock. I had 36 people out at that scene and standing by at the stations until 1:30 in the morning. Everybody had to get up for work and stuff like that. Those 36 people were either on scene or at a station in 20 minutes. And I would beg to let anybody know, I don't think there's probably another department in this community or in this municipality, paid or unpaid, that can give you that kind of manpower with highly trained, highly motivated people that are able to do their job. As I said, there's going to be a vote later on this evening through council to put a referendum on the ballot come in May. We believe that that's our best bet, letting you, the people, decide whether or not you want to help support us or what we want to do. Unfortunately, as I said, we are unable to afford this building by ourselves, but we're very proud and, very happy to serve this community. So with that, I would like to say thank you, council, for all your help you've put through all this work. We've done a lot of work together with you guys and stuff, and hopefully everything goes all right and things are given the okay with that. Other than that, questions, comments, problems?
You're in the clear.
Okay.
Okay, at this time,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Chief. Can we turn to the mayor's report, Mayor Morton?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Mayor.
Council. Good evening, everyone. You're going to be blessed tonight because I only have one item. Birthdays. For those of you who aren't familiar with our birthday program, we recognize everybody who's 90 years or older by month. Now, I have a list tonight of 6 people who were happen to be born in the month of February. Anywhere from the 1918 up through 28. So, 92-year-old Marcella Zitelli. Happy birthday to her. Also, Jesse Fardella, 93. Happy birthday. Leonard Tischler, I'm sure that's a name that many of you firemen will know, is 94 this year. Happy birthday, Leonard. Gene Brum and Valerie Cohut are 95 years old. We wish them a happy birthday. And Mary Moritz is 100 years old this year. So there's hope. Can you imagine being 100? I can't. Anyway, happy birthday to all those folks, and that's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. At this time, I'd like to turn to the approval of the minutes, and Mr. Allen.
I move that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of January 14th, 2013.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of January 14th, 2013. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Gibbons,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Mowry,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. This time, I'd like to turn to the approval of the bills and payrolls, and Mr. Allen.
I move that we approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 021113 in the amount of $1,100,359.10.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 021113 in the amount of $1,100,359.10. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Mowry,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Gibbons.
Yes.
7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the resident comments section for non-agenda items. Okay, hearing none, we'll go to general policy and finance. We have 3 people signed up to speak on item A, the ordinance to amend the home rule charter. We have Greg Bahodich. If you'd like to come up, state your name and.
We'd like to do this fire company.
Yeah, sure.
3 minutes.
We'll give him that. No, that one's. Do we have time or not?
My name's Jeff Pritchard, spelled Pritchard. I live at 5661 Diane Drive, and I'm the president of the fire company. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason that we're here tonight is to ask the municipal council for their unanimous support in the passage of the ordinance which would allow us to place the referendum on the ballot in May for the dedicated funding for the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. Just some facts about the fire company. Our chief mentioned a few. We cover 12 square miles with 3 fire stations. To this point, we've been surviving on 30 to 35% of the donations that we send out. And that's only 15% of the businesses support us as well. In 2000 to 2004, we got an average of 6,100 returns back. And last year, we got 5,300 returns, which is a decrease of 14%. Now, as you can imagine, we're answering 96 calls back in 1954, and now we're averaging 400 calls a year, which is a 400% increase, and our donations are decreasing as our calls are increasing. And we can't survive doing business the way we're doing now. As the chief said, we did a feasibility study several years back that suggested that it would take $2.8 million just to get our fire station on Brightwood Road back into a safe operating condition. The recommendation was to basically tear it down and build a new station. We have issues with walls falling down, pulling away from the building, the driveways deteriorating, the floor is floating. We got sewer line issues, and those are just some of the major issues that top the smaller issues as well. Our option was to go ahead with a new building, and we've been working several years on planning this building, and we've been working with an architect who is very knowledgeable, and their main items is to build fire stations. We've been working with him for the last year and a half, and he's come up with a proposal and some estimated costs of the building, which is going to be about $8.6 million. Now, this is going to help us not only now, but years in the future. We're building, and we're going to build this fire station for 20 and 30 years out so that we don't have to deal with this again in any near future. We've been planning this for 5 years. We're getting very close to the stages where we're going to be going out on bids, hopefully if everything passes right. And, hopefully we can start construction on this early next year. Yeah, sure.
Some of the things that we really wanted to express to the community as we're going through this and we're looking for referendum. When you look at a comparison of the neighboring communities and what they do for their fire companies, a lot of them are paid, some are paid and volunteer. A comparison of one is very close, has a budget of $4.1 million, which is a fully paid company. For us to be able to do that same thing, if we would ever have to go that direction, it would equate to approximately 2 meals on each resident and business. In comparison of the savings that has saved our residents over the years, you could probably equate that almost to $20 million of savings over that 10 years for these people. Now, what we're asking for in doing this with the building and operating costs, we're not even coming close to that. We have been a volunteer organization. We've asked to keep it as a volunteer organization. We do not want to go to a paid one. We want to continue to save this community that money over the years. It's not easy doing what we're doing. As I said, over the years, things have continually dropped in the fundraising activities. We have sat here and we've asked, at these meetings, we've sent out in our letters asking for the increase. And when you don't get the support of the community, you have to look at other avenues of being able to do that. Mr. Harrison, I know that each time you support us in saying, please donate. But unfortunately, we've reached a point where we cannot go that direction anymore. The costs of running this building and getting a new building are just getting too high. We can't do it on our own. And we're asking for the remainder support of the people in this community. When you look at the comparison of what it's going to actually cost the average resident in the community, the homeowner, it's going to be less than $4 a month average, okay, for that. What's the safety of a person's work? We're giving a premium service in this community. We're just asking for something in return from the people in this community for an average of $4 per month.
My name's Edward Schmidt. I'm the recording secretary of the fire company and the new building chairman. Just a couple other items with regards to how we reduce the cost of firefighting in this community. over the last 2 years, we've undertaken a project to try and get our protection class reduced from a 5 down to a 4, which we succeeded in doing. It took a huge amount of man hours plus a lot of planning on our part to make sure we had proper equipment. Of course, the municipality providing water and so on to us allowed us to reduce that, allowed ISO to reduce the protection class down to a 4. Now, what's that going to mean to our residents? It's going to mean that approximately a 10% decrease in your homeowner's insurance, as well as commercial buildings as well, because that protection class means that we have the equipment and the manpower and the water sources to respond to fires and reduce the damage that's done in this community by fires. So if you would equate that 10% decrease or approximate 10% decrease in your insurance, it may in some cases just eliminate what the tax might do. So if you have a $1,000 insurance policy, $100 of that may come off of there due to this reduction. So as a result, you're based on a 0.34 mils, your donation's $34. You just made money anyway. So with that, there's many things, and these gentlemen and the chief has alluded to a lot of things already. We're looking for a definitive stream, financial stream. It's very difficult for us to exist and to get loans and so on to purchase equipment because we don't have a solid financial stream. It's important and unfortunate, too, that we have to go this route, but we believe that the community of Bethel Park deserves the finest firefighting organization, and we want to continue being able to provide that. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Just in closing, I would like to say, Mr. Harrison, I respect you as a person and as a councilman, and we appreciate everything that you do to help us raise funds for the fire company. However, the true measure of your support would be not to oppose us, but to stand by us and help us through this, support us through this referendum, and let the voters decide in May how they want to handle this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one other resident signed up to speak, Ron Arnone from Hilltop Lane. If you come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, members of council, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, administrators, good evening. My name is Ron Arnone. I live on Hilltop Lane here in Bethel Park. I come in support of the referendum that the fire company has been discussing tonight. It's a question that I think needs to be on the ballot. It's my understanding that the fire company's operated for over 80 plus years and has been able to operate on donations and other avenues as they expressed here tonight. However, things are changing. This is a big change in the direction for our community. I hope that council supports this motion to allow the public to decide on how our tax dollars are being spent. I encourage everyone to vote yes and let the residents of Bethel Park have a voice. This is a most important issue to our community. Bethel Park is a fine community. We have a lot of good in this community, and the fire department is one of those things that I think is a great asset, and we need to continue to support them. And this, to me, is a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we can turn to the agenda, and Mr. Hannon.
Okay, we have, first item is the ordinance for the amendment of the Home Rule Charter. I move that we approve the ordinance initiating a referendum to be placed on the May 2013 election ballot, which would amend the Home Rule Charter of the Municipality of Bethel Park to include an annual appropriation of revenue to the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the ordinance initiating a referendum to be placed on the May 2013 election ballot, which would amend the Home Rule Charter of the Municipality of Bethel Park to include an annual appropriation of revenue to the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. I guess I just want to speak to this item first. A lot of the comments, you stole part of my little speech here, by the way. But I'll tell you, I got involved in this. I was one of the members of council that got involved almost 3 years ago, and really not knowing a lot about the fire department other than when you needed them, they were there. It was truly a learning experience for me on what they do, the commitment, and short of repeating everything in the history of the fire department, I will note here the first fire truck was a Model T many years ago. But this is what they're asking for is something. There's probably two things that we talked about when we came to the conclusion that we needed to do something. We needed a new fire station, and I came in not knowing if we did or not, but having visited the facility, read the reports, talked to people, I was convinced after a few months of our meetings. And the second thing is, if we were going to do this, how are we going to support the fire department? How are we going to fund it? There's a number of different things we talked about, a number of different options that were laid out, but ultimately what the fire department wanted to do is remain autonomous from the municipality. While they respect what we do, they are firemen, they want to fight fires. One of the options could have been for municipal council to place a question, or excuse me, to vote an increase in taxes to fund this, but tied with, if we were to do that, there's always strings attached. And I think the discussion was, and the decision of the fire department was, well, they respected and appreciated what we did. They didn't want to have to worry every year if the appropriation was going to be there. Their job is to fight fires. I learned a lot as far as what it takes to be a new fireman, or fire person, I should say. You know, the hours involved are almost unbelievable. Nearly 200 training hours the first year, attend 36 drills the first year, respond to at least 50 calls in each of the first 2 years. In addition, that's all volunteer time that people are giving at no cost to the taxpayers. Over $8,000 for equipment for one firefighter. Well, we have 16 new firefighters. It's great. The recruitment drive, they dropped the age to 18. I hope I'm not stepping over my bounds here, but they are working on a junior firefighter program and hoping within the next year get involved with the school district. Well, people 16 to 18 won't be able to fight fires, but you get them involved, get them, coming down to the station, helping out, so when they turn 18, they're ready to become a firefighter. So they really do a lot of good things, and I think ultimately what it means is this is a real change in what we do. We take the Home Rule Charter very seriously about it's the bylaws, it's what we follow every day from the municipal side. And we talked about doing the question, the only way we could do it is amend the charter. In my opinion, amending the charter, the fire department rises to that level that it's a structural change the way we operate in Bethel Park. And to be able to do it, have a dedicated funding source so the firemen know a year from now, if this passes, 5 years from now, the funding's going to be there. They don't have to come back to this board. I may not always be here. Is that good or bad? But you don't have to answer that. No, I'm just kidding. It really depends on let them running autonomously. That the municipality can collect the money, and I'll talk a little about how it's going to operate. So I really do feel this is the way to go. The question, if it passes tonight, will be on the May 21st, 2013 ballot, and the question will read, the Council of the Municipality of Bethel Park shall make an annual appropriation of revenue to the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company in the amount equal to 0.34 mils. The Council shall determine the manner in which the appropriation is made. That's the question. If it passes tonight, we got to go through the elections department. The solicitor is going to be working on that. And that's really what it's going to, we're hoping that the question will be on the ballot. What does this mean? What is a taxpayer? What security do they have? The informal agreement we have with the fire department, hopefully this passes in May, the municipality will draw into a formal agreement with the fire department. We may take ownership of all 3 buildings. The municipality will be the landlord. We will own the buildings. The money collected, built into that is a debt service, whether we go to bond issue or a bank loan. We haven't fully determined that yet. The numbers we're looking at are for a bond issue. The second thing, any expenses regarding the buildings, whether it's regular maintenance, whether it's utilities, insurance, and any other minor expenses. So that money will be, once we get into the agreement with the fire department, the money will be kept in the municipal funds. There'll be a line item in the budget. We'll collect the money. We'll appropriate the money. The money will be audited through our municipal funds, so the firemen can focus on fighting fires. They'll have a new building and a source to pay their expenses of all three of the buildings. Probably the next issue is going to be, just so everybody understands, the fire department somewhat has two funds. They get state money that's used for buying equipment and trucks. That's going to continue. That's going to be separate. The municipality is only going to be the landlord. They will be the tenants, and like I said, we'll enter into a long-term lease. I really think it's a win-win. I think it gives the fire department what they need, a dedicated funding source. I think the scrutiny from the municipal staff and our auditor, I think, is a safety net for the residents of this community. And it takes the politics out of the fire department. We don't need to be getting involved. I'm not a fireman, nor do I choose to run a fire department. That's your job. Our job is to help facilitate, and that's what we're doing tonight. So I will be supporting placing this question on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other questions or
yes.
comments? Mr. Harrison.
I'll be voting no on this motion. And as anybody that follows the actions of this council knows that for the last 3 or 4 decades, when I vote no on a motion which I know is going to pass, I always opted to explain why I did it. I'll just mention, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. I just mentioned that I did write a letter to the Almanac, and they very generously published it. I wanted to make sure, I argued with myself quite honestly. I was reluctant to make comments tonight because of a recent incident, and the more I thought about it, the more I concluded that I have an obligation to let people know a little bit more about the operation of this governing body and to let them understand my position, which I claim would get the money quicker and securely for the fire company. But let me, I generally just express my views, but because this is important, I got a statement I'm going to read. And so, as I say, I was reluctant to comment tonight, but my comments on this issue 2 weeks ago tonight, when we had our committee meeting back in the Cox room, and several firemen were here, and the staff, and the reporter, and everything else, caused Council President Murray, in my opinion, to lose his cool, and he verbally trashed me for a few minutes. Verbally trashed me. I decided to comment tonight, and I'm hopeful that these comments don't initiate another outburst by President Murray. President Murray's comments in his outrage did not address my concerns. His action was unprofessional and inappropriate. As the chief spokesman of the Bethel Park governing body. What is equally disturbing, and I feel strongly about this, is that the other Bethel Park elected officials present at the meeting were absolutely silent. I've spoken previously about my mother using adages to sort of control the family, and it came to mind then that one of her adages that's apropos to this time is that silence is consent. And I'm speaking to the silence of my fellow council members when the president of council, who represents this governing body, can't control himself better than that. Shouldn't the members of council be embarrassed to have the governing body spokesman act in this unprofessional manner? It is important to note that all council members, including me, seem to favor a bond issue for the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company to construct a needed replacement station on Brightwood Road. The bone of contention in the issue results from my comment calling the Home Rule Charter route wrong-headed. And it's just interesting, the many calls I've gotten in the past week or so that people use that word. I want to emphasize that Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company is an effective, efficient volunteer, and I want to emphasize the word volunteer organization. The Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company deserves our support. The governing body, I'm talking about Bethel Park, not necessarily the same personality sitting here. The governing body in Bethel Park in the past has voted for bond issue for the expansion of the Miss building, which we're sitting in, for the construction of the community center, several times for the municipal authority, and is discussing plans. My fingers don't work too well with this genetic disease. I apologize. For another bond issue for the municipal authority in the near future. None of these involve the home rule charter route. The motion on the floor is to authorize a May primary ballot question to insert a dedicated tax for the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company in the home rule charter. And maybe I lack understanding, but I do my homework, and everything I've seen relative to this is a proposal to float a bond issue. And Mr. Murray talked about maybe the money wouldn't be available. I think it's poppycock, but on with my statement. The Home Rule Charter is the Constitution of Bethel Park and not a tree to willy-nilly hang ornaments on. Think of the federal government earmarks. And no one has explained to me, and maybe that's a problem, no one has explained to me or to the public why this proposed bond issue should be handled differently than differently than previous. That is that these proposed funds is handled differently than previously. Previously, it was handled by a motion of council to float a bond issue, and then the council has faithfully retired those bonds. The Home Rule Charter route delays the potential start of the construction of the new Wrightwood Fire Company building for several months. I claim if the Bethel Park Council favors aiding the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company in constructing a new building, why delay the process by a home rule charter change? I suspect that a trigger to Mr. Murray's outburst resulted from my comment to my fellow councilmen members that they are cowards, and I still believe that, by using the home rule charter route rather than a simple ordinance authorizing the preparation of bond issue, as has been used in all of the above mentioned issues. I'm talking about the home rule charter. I'm talking about the municipal building, the community center, and the municipal authority. The ordinance route at this time causes the Bethel Park Council to initiate a vote for a millage increase. The Home Rule Charter provides council a tax increase shield, saying that a tax increase has been mandated by the public and not by approval, or not by council being willing to sit up here, vote to issue a bond issue, and you'd have the money a lot sooner. I'm going to make one last thing. And I'll tell you, I've had lots and lots of emails and phone calls in the last couple of weeks. Naturally, I'm toward the focal point for a lot of reasons, letters, things I say up here. But council should consider the result of the Home Rule Charter vote failing to pass, that I think is likely based on many phone calls I received. Every person that calls me, I ask if they're a contributor, and every person that calls me claims they are a contributor, and then they call me to object to putting in the Home Rule Charter, because they agree it's wrong-headed. There's a simpler way to do it more rapidly. I'm just going to ask the final question, that is, if the Home Rule Charter vote fails, that is, the majority of the people that vote don't vote for it, is council going to abandon the volunteer fire company? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Any other comments?
Mr. Allen?
Mr. Hannan.
Like Mr. Maury, I've spent the last 2 years in meeting with the fire department, and it has been an enlightening experience, and so I got to appreciation of the time they spend in protecting this community. One of the responsibilities of sitting up here is our role is to preserve and protect and defend the people of this town, to make sure they're safe. And having a very good, and sometimes people would say great fire department is part of that. I mean, public safety is number one. There's an issue here that the fire department in this town has never been political. And having to come to council year after year for an appropriation, sort of like what the library does every year, it's some years are better than other years. And this sort of sets the standard that allows the debt to be retired and provide operation for the buildings, so these guys can do what they want to do and fight fires for this community. And I think overall, sitting for the last 2 years or so, meeting with these guys on a relatively regular basis to see what their needs are and talk about it and come up with different ideas was an education for me. And I think overall that the people of this community, we're changing a direction here. It makes sense for the people of this community to have a say. It's easy to get 5 votes. You can get 5 votes, you can raise taxes, you can do anything in this town. So, but this particular thing is a plea to the people of this town that who benefit from the fire department to be heard. And I think overall it's behooves us. It's calling us cowards. It's just another way of doing business. And I don't appreciate that, Mr. Harrison. And because I spent a lot of time and effort doing this job. And I don't sit there and listen to my phone to ring to say, rah, rah, you did a great job on your letter or this or that. I put the time and effort into doing it. So, Mr. Harrison, I'm appalled by your comments referring to this council as cowards. And I would appreciate a retraction of your statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hannan. Are there any other?
Mr. Maury.
Mr. Allen.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Jim said. I've been on that committee also for the last couple of years, and I've been on different committees as long as I've been on council and even in other venues. The people that showed up at those committees from the volunteer fire department couldn't be more professional than any committee I work with. I mean, they had all their numbers, anything that we needed, they would send the number, they would send what we needed, and the response was unbelievable. So I just want to thank the group for certainly putting all the hard work that you've done on this. On another note, I mean, it just amazes me that a person on this council who preaches for the last 16, 17 years that I've been on council, we need to hear what the people have to say. We want to hear what the people have to say. Now, well, we really don't care what the people say. This is what we want to do. It just amazes me. And we're certainly not hiding behind anything. We want the people to come forward, support your group like we support your group. And, I mean, it just amazes me that, you know, when you try to do the right thing, that, like Mr. Hannan said, I mean, to sit back there and say you people are all cowards, I mean, I thought it was in The Wizard of Oz or something. But, and you know, and of course I can't foresee the future, But if we sat up here and voted tonight on a 0.34 mil increase, there might be a committee out there to stop that too. So who knows? But I mean, I'd certainly vote yes because put a lot of time and effort in it. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. I want to take a couple minutes to talk about the issues. I'm not going to talk about any names that people have been called or anything else. It's just not productive. But let me talk about the issues. And the first issue is this. This is clearly a fundamental change in the way this municipality is going to be operating. It's a fundamental change. For the first time in the history of this municipality, we're going to provide fiscal support to the fire company. Never done that before. That's the kind of change that, one, we should go to the people and ask them if they're prepared to do that. And two, if they are under the circumstances that we're describing, it's appropriate to be in the Home Rule Charter. And here's why. Let me address that. What we're talking about doing here is providing support for the facilities that the fire company needs. When you're providing support for facilities, you can do it through a bond issue in which you know the amounts that are going to be payable over a long period of time, and you can make projections about the costs that are going to be incurred in order to maintain those facilities. It's why this works to be a set number. It's why we can tell the public today that what it's going to cost you for the foreseeable future is 0.34 mils. And we're able to do that, and we are able to do that by proposing it as a Home Rule Charter amendment because that's all that we're going to be getting involved in. As Mr. Mowry said, we're not going to be operating the fire company. We're not taking over the fire company. We're not running this in the same way, for example, that the police department is run. We're not running it in the same way that Public Works is run. And here's why it works as a set amount. In those other budget issues, as we all know, because we deal with these year in and year out, the biggest things you have to deal with that change from time to time are salaries, with benefits, pensions, health insurance. None of that will be present here. Why? Because we have a group of dedicated volunteers who will do this work and continue to do it. So we don't have to get into those issues. The second biggest thing we deal with from a budgetary perspective oftentimes is equipment. But here again, we are not going to be purchasing fire trucks. The fire company is going to continue to do that in the same manner in which they have all along. So what we get to achieve by this is we get to provide a very specific, dedicated support to the fire company, which from my perspective is critical. Because if we don't go in this direction, we're going to lose our volunteer fire company. They're not going to be able to continue to provide this service for the foreseeable future as volunteers. What's going to happen is they're going to have to become a paid fire company. And then what you're going to find is that they're going to have to become part of the municipal budget with salaries and benefits and health insurance and everything else that comes with it. And your tax increases of every house and commercial business in this town will go up by way more than 0.34 mils. So what we get is the opportunity to preserve a volunteer fire company. What the fire company gets is a new building so that they can continue to provide the service that they have for the last 80 plus years. That's why this works. That's why it works as it's being proposed. But it's a fundamental change, and it's the kind of thing that the public should have the opportunity to vote on. So what I don't understand is why somebody would conclude that just because they made their mind up about this, nobody else should get a chance to vote on it. That's just wrong. And it shouldn't be done that way. What's being proposed is to let the people decide if this is what they want to do in terms of the structure of this government going forward. And for those reasons, after having given this a lot of thought and spending a lot of time on it, I'm prepared to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. O'Brien.
Council does take the Home Rule Charter amendments very seriously. If you review the record, you will see that it's a very serious thing. And they don't take it lightly to just go and amend the Home Rule Charter. It doesn't happen that often. But it does happen when it's a monumental issue. And this is. as Mr. McLean says, this changes the way we do business. This is for the fire department, and the people need the right to vote on it. And this will be set in stone for a long, long time. Maybe all of us won't be here, but our actions by putting this on the referendum and it is voted on will be here long after all of us are not serving here. And it'll send a message to the people of this town that this council at this time was very much interested in their fire department and being part of the Home Rule Charter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Murray?
Okay, here we
Mr.
go.
Murray, I want. Excuse me.
Let him speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have the gavel. I thought he had it. I'm sorry.
Mr. Harrison?
Oh, okay. I'd like to ask the solicitor to tell me and the public what happens now.
Well, what happens, of course, is that the council votes, and if they vote in favor of the ordinance, then that is a proposal under the Home Rule and Optional Plans Law. The ordinance is delivered to the Department of Elections, which will review the question and either approve it in the format proposed. They might make some alterations, but I feel pretty comfortable with the way it was drafted. Then it'll go on the ballot in May, and the decision on whether or not the amendment will be made by referendum of a majority of those voting.
Assuming that this passes, and it will, we all know that, when would the Election Bureau be requested to put on the ballot?
Well, they'll have it this week.
Excuse me?
They'll have it this week. I'll deliver it to them this week.
Well, I was concerned you would say that. I'm sure you're as familiar with the Home Rule Charter as I am, and if this council votes positively on this ordinance is not effective until March the 13th. Want me to read the Home Rule Charter to you?
I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison?
I said, you want me to read the Home Rule Charter to you?
Now, I'm familiar with that provision, but the Home Rule and Optional Plans Law is clear of how, under state law, a governing body can amend the Home Rule Charter. And
you're missing my point. I'm not arguing
no, I
that.
don't think I'm missing it, Mr. Harrison.
Well, no,
you're saying
I'm
the ordinance is
about,
ineffective for 30 days, and I don't agree with you.
I'm concerned, I, Don Harrison, are concerned that the whole crew in the community is being misled because if council approves this ordinance tonight, which they will, this is the 11th of February, it will not become effective until the 13th of March. I don't see how we possibly can request the Election Bureau to do anything based on an ordinance until the ordinance is official. Is that a reasonable conclusion or not?
Again, I could give council a more formal opinion. I could do some additional research. I have to tell you, my initial reaction is you can't trump state law with your local ordinances or even the Home Rule Charter itself. I mean, I know, Mr. Harrison, you often say that the Home Rule Charter is the Constitution of Bethel Park, and that is a good shorthand most of the time. In other words, council has to act within the terms of the Home Rule Charter, but the state law ultimately governs, and I think that the statute's pretty clear that once this is passed, then the proposal, the ordinance is done with then. It's out of council's hands. Once it's passed, then it goes to the Department of Elections, and it's a matter then for referendum. It's not something that's...
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a nuclear scientist that supports the nuclear navy. But the point I want to make is that I can read and I do my homework, and I think that for our committee meeting, you ought to give us a letter telling us the details. Because I'm concerned based on my understanding, and like I say, I don't claim to understand the law, and I know you do, but based on my understanding, considering that this ordinance doesn't become effective for 30 days, that it can't be used to request the Election Bureau to do anything until then, and I'm simply asking you to look into it to make sure that
If council wants me to do further work on it, Mr. Harrison, I'd be glad to. As you know from your many years in local government, there are things that are sometimes matters of interpretation or ambiguity, and I don't mean any disrespect. I just don't think that, you know, once, I just, at least initially, I'm not in agreement with you. But I will certainly look into it further if that's council's
Well, that's a
wish.
request of the council to ask the solicitor to give us a legal opinion so we know and the people know and the fire company knows exactly where we stand on this. I'm just saying I'm not for sure we're going to like the result of that investigation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we direct the solicitor by the time we have our committee meeting 2 weeks tonight to have informed us of the details of getting the question on the ballot.
Point
of maybe
inquiry. Is his motion out of order? Because we already have a motion on the floor.
No, I was going to say maybe I have to wait till the vote.
Okay, why don't we wait till...
I'll make the motion after the vote.
Okay. Now it's my turn.
Mr. Mowry.
I don't know where to start, but I think it's funny, Mr. Harrison, how he verbally trash. All of a sudden, when you don't disagree with Don, it's you're beating up on me. Leave me alone. I act in the caucus room as I act tonight. I get frustrated with Mr. Harrison. Met for 3 years. You know what Don did? Nothing. We talked about the referendum question for the last year. You know what Don did? Nothing. He waits till the cameras are on. He always looks to take the opposite point of view, and then he tries to run his election on that. It surprises me. I guess it really shouldn't surprise me how he is. And as Mr. Allen said, if we would have raised taxes to do it, he would be out there wanting to do a petition committee to stop it. Just for the record, I do read the charter and I do kind of come prepared. Well, Mr. Harrison likes to think that he knows everything. I will say the Home Rule Charter was amended 4 times. It was adopted and it was put in place in January 1978. They were for structural changes. There was a time, once in my tenure, we put a question on the ballot and it failed. But this is the way to do it, to protect the fire department, to get a continuous revenue stream. I'll say what got Mr. Harrison's dander up at the committee meeting is the reason we have to go this route is because of Don Harrison. It's not about the taxes, it's not about anything else, but other than Don wants to gain control. The fire department deserves the stability, they deserve the opportunity for the public to vote, and I don't know why Mr. Harrison's so afraid of letting the public vote on such an important issue. It's all about control. You know, he talks about raising taxes, and we can certainly do that. But understand, let me read the minutes from last month's meeting. If council wants to go that way, they ought to make an ordinance. That way they can get feedback from the people if they think it ought to be less or they think it ought to be more. Once again, he's changing the target. Once he gets control, he's going to want to change things. The fire department shouldn't have to worry about coming back to this council or any councils every year. We go through budget times. The first thing, if we're talking about raising taxes, the first thing that Don brings up, and it's the only thing practically, why do we don't cut the library? We give an appropriation to the library every year. It's the first thing. The fire department would be no different. People can communicate with council and change can be made from the dais if they feel it should be. Guess what? Once we get an obligation for the department, once again, he's already talking about, well, we can change it. Before I go into my last comment, I'm going to use a little analogy here that Mr. Harrison used, and I think be more appropriate for him. Mr. Harrison's concern is like a camel getting his nose in the tent. Once it's in there, there's no telling what he would do. The camel is Mr. Harrison of the fire department. We're trying to protect the fire department. Let the public vote on it. And kind of talking about the question, and I'll be more than happy to make a motion following the vote on this, is Don talks about the Home Rule Charter and whether or not when the ordinance goes into effect. I'm certainly not a lawyer. I can kind of read. I gave the solicitor tonight a copy, and I'm sure he has one, but I just thought for
I
tonight's
looked at
meeting.
it before tonight.
Yeah, that's all due respect. I did highlight the home rule and optional plans law. One of the things in bullying tactics that Mr. Harrison used on council after he called us cowards. By the way, I'm not up for election, Mr. Harrison, so maybe he wasn't referring to me. Is a section in here, and as Bob McTiernan, and I'm not going to put words in his mouth, because Mr. Harrison brought up the fact that he was going to start a petition. I did my homework. I did some research. I may be dead wrong, and maybe I'm sticking my neck out here. But based on the research I did, I don't believe, in my opinion, that a petition committee can be formed to prevent this from getting on the ballot. And I would ask the solicitor if he could comment briefly, and then tied in with Mr. Harrison's comment, I would like a written opinion following, as soon as possible, if that in fact is true.
Well, let me do the research. Let me give you a written opinion. But as you alluded to, naturally, I thought about this a good deal before this evening. I mean, not even knowing where everyone's position is, but just trying to anticipate issues. And these are difficult issues, but I do feel strongly that the home rule and optional plan law is the fundamental means of amending a home rule charter. It's almost like Congress can't pass a law that changes provisions of the United States Constitution and how you amend a constitution. That's in the, that's the state law. That's the higher authority here. So, my certainly initial opinion is that as long as the council's in compliance with the state law, then you can move forward with the amendment. It can't be limited by these other items. But I'll look into it with greater, detail and provide a written opinion if that's council's desire. If it passes, I am going to provide it to the elections department, however.
Okay, we would appreciate that.
So to make sure I understand, we will have an opinion by the committee meeting tonight, is that correct?
Yes.
When is the committee meeting?
2 weeks.
Okay, yeah. You will have it.
Okay. I guess kind of in closing here, I think everybody sees what Mr. Harrison's done. I've gotten a couple phone calls from people that I believe have talked to Mr. Harrison, and maybe I'll ask the solicitor to clarify this also. I don't want this to be coming from me, but one of the accusations or comments made out there, part of the misinformation campaign, is that if this is passed, council can raise taxes at any time for any reason without going to a vote of the charter.
I don't follow that.
Is this a blanket statement that allows council, if this motion passes for the 0.34 mil increase, that council can at any time raise taxes, a dedicated tax, because we adopted that?
No, all it means is that the amount of millage set forth in this provision would have to be appropriated for volunteer firefighting in a manner that's within the control of council, how it's going to be spent. So it doesn't apply to any other.
It's just this one issue and one issue only.
It says volunteer firefighting.
And let's just talk about a couple years ago, he did the same thing in tax petition committee when we were going to raise property taxes. I mentioned earlier, and Jack mentioned, that if we did this by strictly a millage increase, he'd be having his table out there and banging his cane and telling everybody, you got to sign it. These people are evil. Who can forget, or who can't forget, the 700-foot, $5,000 emergency access road? For nearly a year and a half, Mr. Harris went around another petition drive, by the way, collecting signatures, telling people he could build this road 750 foot for $5,000. Mr. Harrison supported having our traffic consultant look into it. Guess what? His $5,000 road cost $750,000. But yet he collected all those signatures under the premise that he could do it for $5,000. It's disappointing that, but not surprising, that Mr. Harrison chooses to attack the fire department. Everybody up here has been attacked by him, our staff, the solicitor. So there's a big group of people that you're now affiliated with. So I just, my final comment is that, I think this is the best thing. Let the public vote. Let the public decide. I don't know what Mr. Harrison's afraid of other than maybe losing control. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other comments? Hearing none, Mr. Spagno, please call the roll.
Harrison?
No.
Glenn?
Yes.
Mowry?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
6-1. Motion passes 6-1. Mr. Hannon.
The next item is an appointment to the Civil Service Commission. I move that we appoint Daniel B. Duff to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
There's a motion and a second. We appoint Daniel Duff to the Civil Service Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2015. Is there any discussion from council? Hearing none, Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0, Mr. Hannon.
We have no further agenda items under General Policy and Finance, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to Planning and Zoning and Ms. Givens?
It's an application for Kentucky Fried Chicken Major Land Development. I move that we approve application number 2012-0845, Kentucky Fried Chicken Major Land Development, 5153 Library Road, in accordance with the municipal planner's correspondence dated January 23rd, 2013.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve application number 2012-0845, Kentucky Fried Chicken Major Land Development, 5153 Library Road, in accordance with municipal planner's correspondence dated January 23rd, 2013. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Gibbons.
This is a resolution for an easement vacation. I move that we adopt the resolution approving application number 2012-0921, Rodney Sarver, Dawn Marie Minion Sarver, easement vacation 3555 Myrna Drive.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We adopt the resolution approving application number 2012-0921, Rodney Sarver, Dawn Marie Minion Sarver, easement vacation 3555 Myrna Drive. Any questions on this item? Mr. Speckle, please call the roll.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Gibbons.
There are no additional items under planning and zoning.
Okay, I have one additional item, or two additional items, actually. One I forgot, and two is Mr. Dixon isn't here tonight. I just want to let the residents know that over the last several months, Mr. Dixon met with PennDOT along with our staff regarding the opening of the guardrail at Locust Street. I am happy to report from Mr. Dixon that the guardrail has been opened today, verified by Mr. Duke.
31-inch open.
31-inch opening, so I know the residents in that area were concerned about it. It took a little time, but I'd like to thank Mr. Dixon and staff for following up and making that a reality for the neighborhood over there. Second is Mr. Pape couldn't be here tonight. He hopes to be back here next month. He's recovering well, and he just wanted to let everybody know that if he would have been here, he did support the fire company on the referendum question, so thank you. Any additional items? Hearing none, health, safety, and welfare, and Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item under health, safety, and welfare. It's a resolution regarding disposition of records. The motion, I move we adopt the resolution of the disposition of public safety records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Society regulations.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we adopt the resolution for the disposition of public safety records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Society regulations. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spangler, would you please call the roll?
Allen?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0, Mr. McLean.
We have no additional items.
Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to Public Works and Maintenance and Mr. O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are no items under Public Works and Maintenance for this evening.
Are there any additional items? Hearing none, is there a motion to
Move we
adjourn?
adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
600. Watch BPTV.
We would like you to join us for the Bethel Park Cheerleaders and Boosters 23rd Annual Spring Fashion Show that benefits Special Olympics Allegheny County.
This year, a special fairy tale themed show will be held on Sunday, March 17, 2013 at Independence Middle School Auditorium. Doors open at noon.
Tickets are $5 for adults and $3 for students. Due to the incredible support of the community for this annual event, all organizers and participants are volunteers, enabling all proceeds to go directly to this very worthwhile charity.
Last year, the fashion show culminated in a donation of more than $10,000, raising the Bethel Park Cheerleading Boosters Association's total donation from the past 2 decades to more than $158,100.
Your support on behalf of this very important cause will help to raise money to enrich the lives of the Special Olympic athletes throughout Allegheny County.
Through your support, these very special athletes will be given opportunities to train and compete in 14 different sports and 23 events throughout the year.
Each year we invite an ambassador to participate in this exciting charitable event. This year we have 2 special guests.
We are pleased to introduce our 2013 Special Olympic athletes.
Here is Emily and Andy. Both Emily and Andy live in Bethel Park and are part of our community and schools.
There is a wonderful afternoon planned with functions from many local widows. Please come to see us tomorrow at the function show while you help support Special Olympics Allegheny County, which has done so much to support me and fellow athletes.
There is also a fabulous basket auction and light refreshments. Our primary source of fundraising comes from the basket auction segment of the show, where the baskets are comprised of items donated by local businesses.
We hope to see you at the 23rd Annual Bethel Park Cheerleaders and Boosters Fashion Show, benefiting Special Olympics Allegheny County on Sunday, March 17th, starting at 1 p.m. at Independence Middle School. For tickets, please see any Bethel Park cheerleader or call 412-833-5283. Please support Special Olympics.
This is not a race. On the road to financial independence, the winners are the ones who stay the course. Learn more about securing your financial future and choose to save. It will pay off in the long run.